tonight, hundreds of people are here in the Civic Center Plaza, occupying, if you will, listening to speeches.
They pay for it because they've got the business reply envelope, and they're going to get our message. And then every one of you is a job creator, because there has to be a person at the bank who opens it, and it's probably a little person. That's probably not the CEO or the CFO. You're a job creator. You're keeping them busy. Do that with your politicians. Tell them that when they come out and sit down in front of us, sit low and listen to the 99%, then you might think about whether they deserve your hard-earned dollar, but only think about it. That's all they get. If they'll listen to us, we'll listen to them. Yeah. But they need to come and sit down amongst us on the ground and make themselves worthy. I'm going on and on. The closest thing I've seen to this is disaster relief. I've worked, after Katrina, I worked with the Red Cross in the shelters in San Antonio. And it was just like this. In 10 days, we went from 30 people at my first GA to 1,500 people at a march yesterday, if you believe the media saying it was only 1,500. And here we are. And it is a disaster. This country is in disaster, and you are all going to be the disaster relief. Yeah. So that's all I really have to say today. We are working very, very hard, and there are some incredibly intelligent, bright, young people who have tons more energy than I do, working very hard to do this. Tomorrow, we will have a sign-up table ready for you to come. Give us your name, give us your email address, get inside the group. We're going to have a group sign-up sheet. We'll have people who will be able to explain to you what each of our committees does. And you can decide then tomorrow, if you can come back, what committee you want to be on. Remember, this is a long-term occupation. We've been occupying other countries for a long time. We're going to start occupying our own country. But it's going to take a while. Don't worry about tonight and whether you're in, and you've got everything and we've got it all straightened out. We're gonna figure this out together. So come back tomorrow. We'll be able to talk to you more about committees and how this all works and how you can be one of the 99% occupying. You can occupy during the day. That doesn't mean you're not occupying. Come on down whenever you can. When you're here, you are occupying. Don't worry about it. We'll hold down staying overnight, but if you can stay overnight, stay a couple of nights. Stay when you can. Don't stay when you can't. So the last thing I want to say is I feel horrible thanking all of you for being here, because it's like thanking myself. Yeah. Because it's just that we feed off of each other, and you help me become more and help you, and you become more helping me, and it's a big circle, and it's been really grand. And we will achieve economic and social justice in this country. Don't let anyone tell you we don't know what we're doing. We know where we're going. We are going to figure out together the way there. Thank you very much.
Let's hear everybody. What's the reason? Time for the General Assembly. What are we going to do? Smart.
We can listen to everyone.
I have been in line for a long time. It is time to say something. This place is not... Everybody here is equal and nobody controls anybody else. I'm going to make a comment with respect. You said 5 minutes. So by the way, some people scream when they hear the name of socialism. Medicare is a form of socialism. And the other thing, I want to make an announcement. I would like all of you, as you might have heard that the Radigan at MSNBC or CNBC has been asking people to sign up for money, get money out. If you haven't yet, go please online and sign Get Money Out. That means that no individual can spend money to get elected. Corporations cannot spend money for an individual to get elected. This has been happening in all civilized world. You don't see Sarkozy to become president and spending money is not permitted. You don't see Prime Minister of England to become Prime Minister, corporation pulling money. The tax money would cover everybody equally and no individual money to be spent for running for offices. Everybody can run and nobody needs money. Is a form of control. And please sign up for getmoneyout.com.
Basically, the way that it works at this point, especially for a lot of the new people, is we will take generally every night we want to get agenda items each night for the next day, essentially for the committee meetings to be able to go through them before we all discuss them together. But generally, we'll take anybody's thoughts at the beginning of agenda items that they wish to speak about in the General Assembly, get everyone's opinions on, possibly vote on, do all that. And generally, when we are doing just the agenda item list at the beginning, you'll want to just stick to items that you want to talk about and realize that we are going to talk about them in order of everyone's ideas. When they first get presented is not generally when we start the discussion. We just take the ideas down, we all discuss them when we get to them on the agenda list later in the night. Beyond that, you can always raise your hand. Again, the stack taker will take your name down, call you in order. Everything is timed to prevent going too long on any particular issue. If at any point we, intermediate or say, I'm sorry, stack is closed, things like that, there's always, you can always motion if we close stack, because there's always 5 minutes to get on the list to speak. You can always motion if you feel that there is more opinion to be heard, more people need to get on the stack, you can always motion to extend the stack and get on the list. But generally we end that after 5 minutes. You can always raise a proposal, and a proposal is basically if you have something that you want to propose, an idea or a solution to something that you want to be voted on in our committee, in the General Assembly, you can always propose that idea, and basically what happens after that is we announce the proposal, we open a new stack, so there's a whole new list for people to go on and just discuss that particular proposal, give their back and forth so everyone can get both sides of it. And then once that's done, if someone wants to make a motion, which is just a motion to vote upon that proposal, you can do that. It gets seconded, and then at that point we vote. And again, it's 100% consensus at this point. That is something obviously that anyone can bring up and that can be discussed, but at that point, that is the process that we currently have been implementing to get through that stuff. So. Alright. He's going to go over a little bit of notes about the process that were done in GA process meetings. So.
Thanks. So I didn't get up with everyone talking about the committees because I forgot. But we also had a committee that is the GA process meeting. Right now we're at the General Assembly, and we have a committee talking about how this will run. But this, we're day 3 kind of our occupation, and not everything is completely developed. So we're working together, not hierarchically, horizontally about decision making. Just kind of about the GA process is that we all come from this idea, this democratic republic of the United States, where whatever senators and congressmen, and we kind of have to reevaluate how we want a decision-making process to go, and that's what our committee, that's what we're all doing here, right? So here we are. So patience is beautiful, and and working together is obviously the goal. And about that, what is the purpose of GA is what we just discussed in our meeting. Basically, we kind of talked about two things. It's about letting everyone feel like they have a voice. Everyone can get on Stack. You just point to the Stack person, they put your name on the list, and they call on you while the Stack is open. After a certain amount of time, the Stack will close, in which case, for time's sake, you don't have the chance to talk about that topic, but if you want to speak, you put your name on the Stack, you get the megaphone, and say your piece. The other purpose of the GA is that we are a decision-making body. There's no elected officials right here. There are committees. We do need some kind of structure, but we are here to make group decisions, and so that is where the voting comes in, and proposals and motions. Pardon me, I'm finding my thought.
I know, yeah.
That's all I got for right now. That's basically how we covered in our process meeting. So, thank you all for being here.
Definitely. I just want to reiterate, thank you guys all for the patience as collectively we all kind of figure out how to do this together and democratically. So, pretty much what we want to start with, like I said, is if anybody has general questions, things that they want to discuss among the assembly, we're going to open up a Stack for that. Raise your hand. If you're not being seen, just find one of the Stack takers, they're both right there. They will get you on the list. There's 5 minutes basically to get on the Stack. So if you have something, do it get your hand up in the next 5 minutes and we'll get you on the list. And we're going to take down all the items. And basically, make sure at this point, again, it's just an agenda item that we are going to discuss. We're not discussing it literally now. That's not why you're raising your hand. Just if you have an actual item that you want to add to the list for the group to discuss. So for the next 5 minutes, go ahead and raise your hand and get on the list.
I'll go get it.
All right. So they get on the agenda. One more time, can you tell us what this is about? Get on agenda.
To get on agenda.
This is basically agenda items. These are potential discussion topics for tomorrow. Okay.
What? I guess because we already have a list.
Agenda.
But definitely, this is definitely more rally hour stuff, but we'll get it down there. We'll definitely have the discussion. So, thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, just in case everyone doesn't know, before every GA, we have rally hour. We have today at 6. And that's just generally, any points you want to make or anything you just want to kind of maybe vent out. It's open mic. So, just to clarify, this is definitely more keeping it to items we just want to get on the list and discuss and vote on, things like that. So, thank you.
Is the rally at 5 and committees at 6?
Point of process.
Clarification, please.
That brought up the first agenda item. Are you still here?
That was the quiet time.
I just want to clarify and make sure we got it right because the pen ran out halfway through.
I think it's clear.
There's a point of process over here?
Yeah, point of process.
There was something paid that should have been discussed from last night over here, and that's consensus versus the simple majority. That should be the first one that we decided last night. So we can vote on it again.
What's the agenda item, everyone knows?
The agenda item is consensus versus majority.
I have a question about the agenda item. What is the percentage of majority that we call? Is it simple majority of 1 that was called for? Okay, thank you. Very, very much. Thank you.
This is information from our committee meeting. The idea is that the objective of this General Assembly is for two things. For everyone's voice to be heard, but also to make decisions. If everyone's voice is heard, that is the idea of consensus, in that everyone has an equal vote and no one can be, everyone's vote is, one person's vote is all of our votes. That means consensus, in a true way, means 100% agreement about any certain thing. And when we find consensus, and we all agree, we are acting as one unified body, one direction, and that is part of what makes a democracy. Majority. Some people, there's different kinds of majorities, but basically it means over 50% of opinions, of votes, if you will. You can have a supermajority, which sometimes is 66%, sometimes is 90%, sometimes 95%, whatever. That is a supermajority. That kind of buffers above the 50+1, which some people, there are varying opinions on which, why you would use one or the other. And that kind of speaks to the decision-making process. Ultimately, so the other half of making a decision as a group, it might be difficult to get 100% of people to agree. And although it's very important, and we really all probably believe that that is a important facet of our General Assembly, it's not always going to reach consensus. And so the question on the table is, what do you value? And to what extent do we have to compromise between 100% consensus and finally making a decision if one person, like someone brought up the question, what if there is one person that has decided to block everything? So that's...
I'm sorry, real quick. I know. Important.
And right now, as it stands, we need a total 100% consensus to pass this.
That's true. I mean, this body has been working on consensus basis from the beginning, and so if we were to stick to that, then this needs 100% consensus to be decided upon. So we haven't reached it before. We might not reach it tonight, but it doesn't mean we can't all express our opinions about it. Oh, we have reached 100% consensus on this issue, and it has been to keep 100% consensus.
Yes, this is like the third time we've debated it for years. And the thing is,
30 second stacks.
We did get consensus on 100% consensus, and that's why it's established now. That's why we need that to overturn it.
And what she was basically just saying, in case you go over it, in previous GAs, they had talked about it, and the consensus system is based off of the systems that haven't worked, and talked about different systems. And in previous GAs, which obviously a lot of you weren't here, there was a vote to keep this system for now. That's just a little bit of background, but we're going to go ahead and hit the stack and see what everybody has to say about it.
Consensus model that you vote the first time, and if there's any disagreement or block, you discuss it in some form or fashion, then you try to vote again. And if there's any blocks, you discuss it in some form or fashion, and then there's sort of a fail-safe, a 90% consensus, and they have yet to ever use it. It's more like an encouragement to agree or compromise or, be heard, but at the same time be willing to progress, because that's what we're all about, is evolving and progressing and compromising, because we're all different, and that's what we're here for. So I think modeling New York in every form or fashion, since it has worked extremely well there, would be in our benefit.
All right, we have a point of process.
Is it your understanding then that we are now using that model?
Yes.
No. We tried to vote on that, we tried to vote on changing it to the New York model, but we could not reach consensus on having the fail-safe 90% added.
Right. So we're not on that. No.
No, we're not at this point.
Just to clarify, we are not on the New York model of having 90% consensus. We are right now, as she said, a 100% consensus model, and that's all that has been voted upon at this point.
Do you have a clarification question?
Is that after 3 times it goes to 90%?
So that we'll do that discussion, I think.
Correct.
We don't have a 90% after then.
Yeah. We'll discuss, yeah, we'll discuss the terms of that if that's brought in. Yeah, but that's not our existing model.
Okay, guys, I feel like this might be a moot point because we are on 100% consensus right now. But I'd like to reiterate the point that's come out time and again, which is that if this movement gets any teeth, there will come a time when there are folks who have a vested interest in seeing us fall apart. And at that point, with our current model, the only way we'll be able to proceed is to compel that person to leave, and that's not going to happen. I'll try to speak more loudly. Gotcha. 90%, 95%, 99%, anything that we can do to circumvent being subject to the tyranny of one individual who wants to hold up the progress of this group. I've been coming to GA for a while. There was one night that I missed. I don't know when we consented upon being beholden to 100% consensus. I don't know if that's in the minutes anywhere, if that's been documented.
We are the 99%.
But it seems like we're being we're being held to the tyranny of the planning board. I don't know how many people consent upon that, and what the process that we need to undertake to change that is. But I'd sure like some clarification on that. Thank you.
Just a point of process on the consenting to consent. We never consent to consent. However, we could not consent to not consent. Does that make sense? We couldn't pass a non-consensus because we had one or two people block it.
There goes no consensus on consensus, right?
The stack's still open, you guys want it?
No, the stack is over.
Okay, cool.
Katie?
Right here.
Sorry.
Am I on? Can everybody hear me? Okay. Okay, so what I wanted to say about this is during the last discussion, there were a lot of good points brought up on both sides. I agree that at some point we may be infiltrated by somebody whose only job is to block us. However, I believe that the process committee has come up with a lot of good contingency plans in that event. For example, some of the things that weren't talked about here but that I believe we agreed on were that if we cannot reach a consensus, we table the issue. If we can still not reach a consensus, we break into small groups and discuss why we cannot reach consensus, and people try to sway people to their side. I think there's a lot of steps we need to take before we go around creating a majority. There's a lot of people here who are only here because this is a consensus group, because they are not going to be overruled by the majority. So I think that's really important. They did a really good job, I think. There's like a 4-day, you know, if something hasn't come to a consensus in 4 days, then I'm not sure what exactly. Abel, do you know no?
Nothing happens.
No, nothing happens in 4 days. Okay, so, you know, I would be in favor of perhaps saying like a 99% rule, like if we can't consent after like a 4-day period and it's just the same. I mean, I feel like it's going to be obvious if we're talking about something for 4 days and only one person's blocking it that that person is an infiltrator. I feel like if this comes up, really, it's going to be obvious, and I don't want to have this rule and then start using it to overrule people who have valid concerns who are not infiltrators. I think we need to be really cautious about instituting any kind of majority rule policy. I think if it comes up, we can deal with it then and it'll be obvious. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, the good thing is I've changed my opinion twice in 2 speakers.
A little closer. A little closer.
This way?
Yeah, you got it.
No, you're good.
This way?
Hello?
Yep.
Just the point I want to bring is I think it is important to have some decisions made in less than 4 days because, you know, the media is going to be paying attention for a couple days, and if the world is looking at everything, and I think about the public out there who's not here, not the 20% of heroes that are here, but the ones that are still at home. So we have to have something we're saying in less than 4 days. So I agree with all the. I mean, everyone should have their 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes to talk. But after so much, then you have to make some decisions. Otherwise, the news is saying there's people protesting. They have no idea what they want. They can't decide, and that's not gonna, it's not gonna help. We got to get goals and solve problems. So something 3 times 99%. I mean, I love the idea of consensus. It's great, but I don't know that we'll get anything decided. So some 99%, 3 votes, 3 discussions, something, but keep it a shorter time, couple days, or not 4 days, not longer.
Confession, I can't read my own handwriting. Jenny, John, something like that? Point of process? Go ahead, point of process.
Is there a point of process?
Is it?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, is this something that we could vote on right now? If at least 99% of us want to vote on whether or not we want to have the 99% rule, is that something
anyone can make a proposal at any time.
Okay, but it would have to be a consensus.
Point of process.
Point of process.
Yeah, I've got a point of process. If, in fact, we never reach consensus on things being decided by consensus, then we are in fact beholden to the will of an individual or small group of individuals who decided that things were going to be decided by consensus. I don't know what the answer to that is, but we didn't all decide that this was consensus. So there's something inherently wrong with our process.
Point out, it can be extremely effective. I have seen groups do 4 hours of work in an hour. I have seen it be highly inclusive, highly empowering. What we're forgetting here is that it takes time, it takes practice, it takes patience. We have to learn things like block doesn't mean I'm fussy tonight. We need to learn how to use the signals and how to respect one another, and I think it can fly and I think it can be beautiful. We can figure out details later. I understood we were right now deciding between majority rules versus consensus. Right? Not about the 99 and 90 and all that, right? So I just want to put a shout out for consensus.
Point of clarification real quick.
You just said we're deciding, but no one's, we don't have a motion. We're not necessarily voting. This is more just like if someone wants to make a motion, that's something. But right now we're just discussing.
Is this one?
I agree with your point earlier, how you were saying that if there was an infiltrator, we would be pretty easy to tell since, if they block it 4 times in a row, it's a pretty obvious situation. But right now, there's not a structure in which to deal with that. Now, this isn't a support necessarily for the simple majority. I don't really think that's a good solution. My point is, I'm a fan of consensus, but we do need to have some sort of structure in which to deal with possible infiltrator tactics.
Real quick, we have a point of process.
Who is it?
Hi, my name's John. I think it's important to take note that we are a small amount relative to the full 99% of this city. For any of us to make any kind of vote or decision on what we choose to do or choose not to do at this point could very well change by the time we get more people out here. We have to, recognize this and keep it.
Mic check. Mic check.
You know what I mean?
Do you have a point of process over there? No, I thought you were having it.
Yeah, one right here.
Okay, next one is that.
Emily is good. Right over there.
Next on the staff.
I had just one quick point of process. We do have a way that automatically covers someone who infiltrates. If they don't agree, they can walk away. So that's when you in New York, if you block, and that means you're willing to walk away if everyone doesn't agree with you. So, I mean, basically, if somebody after 4 times if it's one person and continues to disagree, they can just walk away from the group. It's just a fail safe.
What if they don't?
They have to be willing.
Okay, to go ahead and speak to that, the people I've talked to from New York, that's not exactly how they're doing it. We don't want anybody to walk away, and it's not one of those where we force them out if they block. And that's just the way I understand it. Somebody please educate me with some facts if I'm wrong. I'd love that. Okay, I'm standing up because I want to see your faces. My thing is this. Mic check. Okay. I don't want to immediately assume that somebody feels passionate enough about an issue to block it, that means that they're an infiltrator. We've already had one time, where somebody was that passionate and they did continue to block it, and they were accused of being an infiltrator, and I've known the kid since he was 12. I know damn well he wasn't an infiltrator. He just had a passionate point to make about it. My point here today is that, you know, realistically, this, in my opinion, is a moot point. It's going to be blocked. 51% simple majority, I just don't think it's going to get passed, and I know darn well that there are many here willing to block that. I would go with something like a 95, but that's my personal opinion. Mostly I want to point out is that New York hasn't had to use the 95. This is the only issue so far where we're going over it and over it again without consensus. Consensus is working as it is. If we do something else, I mean, that's fine, but 51 ain't gonna cut it. It's working. When it comes up to where it doesn't work, we'll fix it then. But right now, this is the only subject it doesn't work on, so let's move on and get something done.
That's how we treat society.
I'd like to say something about this too. Maybe this will help to clarify some things. Sorry. Alright, maybe you guys haven't thought about it this way, but think about this, ready? If you have a 99% majority rule, right? If they're an infiltrator, they can get another friend. They can get another infiltrator, which makes it less than that, and that's an issue. If you make it a 90% consensus, they can get 15 friends, and they can do it. So if this is going to be an infiltrator, something like a majority rule of 90% isn't going to stop them. This is a bigger issue than that. So instead of focusing on how we can ignore their voices and cut them out, I think we should more focus on how we can streamline this consensus process, which we've been using. Everything you see in front of you today is a result of the consensus process. So instead of focusing on blocking them out, let's focus on a way to streamline them and include their opinion. And I think that's way more important instead of bringing this issue up over and over again.
Point process. Anyway, you keep making an argument, and I really don't think you're part of the process.
Mic check.
Also part of the team. Yeah, he's not the moderator tonight. So
okay, exactly. Abel, I don't think you're a moderator tonight, and you weren't on stage, so I don't think that you should be. I don't think you should be stepping in and making impassioned comments yourself. I mean, we have part of a process. You should follow it as well.
But the people
I don't agree with you, and you keep making the same arguments over and over again without getting into the process. Now the goal of this is to change society and make a new society. Hello?
Point it down. Point the mic down.
So I say we run this how we want a new society to be run. Now if anyone thinks a new society is going to be run with a 100% majority, is out their mind. So you can't have 5 billion people deciding, 300 million in the United States deciding together 100% majority. It's not going to work out, and I'm thinking long term here. Now it may work out here, but long term it's not going to work.
Part of what that last speaker says, I agree with. For our entire lives, we've lived in this corporate society. We never get a chance to say our opinion. We never get a real vote. This is the closest thing that we're going to ever see to democracy. We are trying to build a new society. We're trying to build a new society in the skeleton of the old, but the old is still here. Last night we spent 10 minutes trying to decide whether we're going to add 5 minutes to the stacks. So sometimes we do get a little absurd with ourselves. But again, think about the last time your boss or your professor or your job or your school, your neighborhood asked you for your opinion. Tell me, when was it? This is it. This is the new society that we're trying to build. 51% is not good enough. 51% would have the other 49% lose out. We're not that. That's not where we're at. We need consensus. I actually personally feel the New York model would be sufficient. But as Abel was saying, Abel's been here since the beginning, and we needed to hear the voice of those who have discussed this issue night after night. This whole scene here, the history that we've been making for the last few days was because of consensus. We need to stay with consensus, but with consensus comes responsibility and accountability. If you're part of a decision making, if you're part of a consensus decision making, you got to stand on that decision. You have to defend that decision, and you have to live that decision. And we're going to build a new society, and it started this last week. We're going to continue doing this, so let's do consensus until it breaks us. It's not going to break us. Look around. I just counted. There's 80 tents in this plaza, man. 80 tents. We already did. Can you say it real quick? I don't. 90%, right? Just 90%, right? It's the third time, right?
On the third time, 90%. That's the difference.
Third time is 90%.
Okay, huh? Okay. I kind of wanted to do a little social experiment. It should take 3 seconds if we can do it quickly. This is not a vote, but I'm curious if you are either questioning or you don't agree with the process of consensus, can you raise your hand just as a straw poll?
Say it again.
If you either are questioning or do not agree with the process of consensus, please raise your hand. Okay, so that's like, I don't know, 10 or 15 people. So for the people who are pro-consensus, I hope you see the irony in that we don't have a consensus about having consensus. All right, that was my first point. Now, for the people who keep saying that, like, it's been working, that we have consensus, I mean, the whole point of this movement, I would hope, is that we grow, right? We want new people to join us. We want this to get bigger. So that means that when new people come who don't necessarily agree with consensus, in a sense, they're being shut down when the people who've been here, quote unquote, from the beginning and say, we've been here from the beginning and we've been doing it by consensus and it's working, so don't mess with it. First of all, you are actually squashing the minority, because there is a minority who doesn't agree with consensus